Hey guys, it's Max. Thanks for tuning into my channel. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. Happy Wednesday morning. Jax is looking at me like it's early to get started, Dad. Come on. Are you serious? You going to start talking this early? Sorry, Jackson. All right, I have something good planned to talk about. I hope, although I've tried to record this a million times, literally like 5 times. So I recorded this yesterday and I listened to it. I just didn't like it. Okay. Living off high yield funds. I'm trying to find ways to simulate it, to test it. Especially ones like ULTY, ones that are just, and YMAX, ones that are just insanely high yield. What about the erosion? What about the effects of those? Could we really live off of these? What would actually happen? Well, this portfolio visualizer is a pretty cool tool, and I built a couple of scenarios, and I thought you guys would like it. I hope you guys like it. I can share these with you, and you guys can test this. I would highly encourage you guys. Now, what I also want to warn everyone, portfolio visualizer can't predict the future. What I'm looking at the last year of ULTY. The next year of ULTY's income will probably be similar to the last year of ULTY's income. I'm looking at more of an income simulator and a risk simulator. The total returns could be totally different, but these do pay steady payments. I'm looking at the effects of trying to live off of these. Now, it's only 1 year of back testing, but anyway, let's just get started here. So I have 3 tabs open, but that's not that big of a deal. Don't worry about that. Right here in this first tab, though, I've simulated withdrawing $5,000 a month. It's $1 million account, withdrawing $5,000 a month, and this is somebody. Portfolio 1 is somebody that just owns VU, so they're going to have to sell stock. Okay, now Portfolio 2 is somebody that owns VU and ULTY because they need income. We're trying to simulate if you could live off of these. Wonder if somebody just had 95% VU and 5% ULTY. Okay, and that I was being serious earlier when I said, and the erosion. What about the erosion? ULTY has erosion, right? Well, Portfolio Visualizer realizes that lots of things have the ability to erode, and the way that manifests itself in a portfolio allocation situation is you allocate 5% to ULTY, and then it has a bunch of erosion, and all of a sudden it's only 4%. Okay, well, there's a setting in here. I'm going to encourage you guys to get real familiar with these customized data settings. Setting right there, it says rebalancing, and it says rebalance monthly. And so that means, ULTY might get out of balance. And if it does, it will sell shares of your other assets and bring it back into balance. You can get a lot better if you put no rebalancing. You can get a lot better total return lots of times. But rebalancing is a cost of having high yield funds. So, some people do rebalancing quarterly, and if you do quarterly, you get a little bit better returns. But I want to be as strict as I can on ourselves. So rebalance monthly means, if one of these high yield funds gets out of balance, you'll have to sell shares of something else to bring it back into balance. Okay, so but also I wanted to show you the other default settings. Initial amount $1 million, and I always have. When I'm testing for retirement, I just tested on withdrawal $5,000 a month. That's $60,000 a year. I think that's reasonable on $1 million. You can set this for something different, but the 4% rule would say, $40,000. This is an elevated retirement, and also be sure to check inflation adjusted. Yes, of course, inflation adjusted. So we're going to take $5,000 a month out, inflation adjusted. And we have these 3 portfolios. I know I haven't showed you all 3 yet. The first one is just VU, because I want to show you guys we could just sell stock of VU and it'd be pretty close to the same, or we're going to see. But so you could just sell stock of the VU. You'd still be up 9.3%. This is for the past year. This is since ULTY's been out. This can only go back to ULTY's inception. But you could have just been selling shares of the VU, rebalancing every month. There's nothing to rebalance in this portfolio because it's only one thing. But okay, be up 9%, actually beating the benchmark right here. The portfolio returns 9.3%. But the other important thing to look at here is the benchmark relative, and that just means compared to just. And I would think the benchmark would be anyway, but we'll take a look at that in a second. Okay, the second portfolio is using some ULTY. So this is just where you're 95 VU and 5% ULTY. And I'm not recommending this. We're just studying this to see what kind of income you would have had, what kind of return, this, and that kind, and what kind of risk you would have taken on. Would this been a doable situation? And had you done it over the last year? And yeah, you would have been the index. You got 9.8% total return. That's after paying yourself $5,000 a month or $60,000 a year. So living off the 6% rule. So that's what I'm calling an elevated retirement or whatever. And I'm not recommending it. I'm trying to put the portfolios under stress. So that's putting it under 50% more stress. Now it's been a great year, but you'd be fine in any of the three of these. You would have been fine in the one with a little bit of ULTY. You had a little bit higher standard deviation. Not really significantly. Okay, then the third portfolio is kind of the one that that I think is smart, and I'm trying to model it. So 80%, and I think I've said this before. Anyway, 80% VU growth, whatever. And then a 20% income sleeve. And of that 20% income sleeve, you're 25% ULTY and 75% cash. Something dead solid safe. It could be government bonds, whatever. But I'm gonna say TO. So it'd be 85-15. And I think this one makes a lot of sense just in my mind. So that's why I started to do this. Doesn't perform quite as well. Only got an 8.2% total return, but probably because the TO, it's steady, but it's bonds. So it's bonds, but the drawdown was about a point less. The standard deviation was about a point less. But anyway, they could have but the point is you could have lived off all of them in retirement, elevated retirement, and still had asset appreciation, which I think we're all looking for. Not only do we not want these funds, these ETFs that have NAV issues. Of course, the main thing we don't want is a NAV issue in our own retirement account. But anyway, we can go back and look at all the metrics here, and this has everything. So the thing that I think is interesting to look at next is go down here to portfolio income. This doesn't mean the income that you paid yourself. That's $5,000 a month or $60,000 a year. This isn't that income. That's the disbursement. This is actually income that the portfolio earned. So that's the other important thing to realize is the portfolio doesn't have to earn. Portfolio A, just the VU, because this is 2 halves of a year is the reason it does this, because this is part 2024, but it looks like the VU earned 12,000, and that's because the SPY earns 1.2% dividend. So on $1 million, you earn 12,000. You can still pay yourself 60,000 and earn 12. They're just selling some shares of the VU. But in any event, if you don't like doing that, and I don't really like doing that. I think that you can nowadays you can have assets to generate enough yield where you shouldn't have to do that. So let's just see if my schemes worked here. So these two, the two other strategies made about 60,000. Because it's 22 plus 35. Well, now, yeah, I mean, close. I mean, so they basically could, the income, most of the income was there. But anyway, we could, that's pretty good. I thought that was a pretty good little demonstration. You still had asset growth, but you guys might be interested in these. It shows how each and everything did and what, and which risk it contributed. I like this chart right here, risk and return metrics. You can look, okay, the first column is just VU, and also the last column is Spider. So that's basically the same thing. That's control. And sure enough, both of them are basically 100% upside capture and downside 100 and 100, because it's just the end. I mean, because they just own they don't really do anything with it. They just own the index. But the ones that vary, look, the scheme I thought was better only gets 88% of the upside, but it only catches 85% of the downside. And then the 95.5 actually catches 103% of the upside because you aren't hedging the ULTY with anything. There's no TO. It's just ULTY and VU. You get 103% of the upside, 102% of the downside. Any of them could work, But anyway, okay. So that's one thing. I'm going to share that sheet with you. But go put in your own. I'm just trying to more teach you how to use these. Go put in your own particulars. Go to settings right here and put in your retirement amount and how much income you need. And then always be sure to hit, it says reinvest dividends, and you hit yes on that. But also hit yes on display income. If you don't hit yes on display income, it won't show you the income. And that's the only thing. I'm trying to look at how these portfolios give you income or not. So by default, that's no. But I have yes. And then yes on reinvest. That, even though I know I don't reinvest, I don't look at the reinvest on the dividend calculator. But on this, of course, you want to reinvest while you're waiting to spend So be sure those are checked. This is just the handiest tool ever. Okay, so I have two more real quick scenarios. This will get a little bit more interesting to you. That's the basic scenario, though. All right, scenario 2. I'm trying to think of show 2 or 3 first. Scenario 2, we have a TradFi portfolio, 60-40. And it's not only just 40 bonds. It's 40 fixed income. So I have a little bit of bonds in there, quite a bit of bonds, high yield bonds, but also have some REITs, some closed-end funds, even some Cornerstone, but no high yield type stuff, just to see how that would have done. Now, on this thing, I'm putting the portfolio under real stress. I'm withdrawing $10,000 a month, which is 120,000, which would be the 12% rule, which I'm not recommending. We're just seeing what would happen if a person was trying to do that. Could the portfolio support it? So the TradFi portfolio would still be up a little bit and would only be 1.7% behind the benchmark. In other words, just selling stock, just owning SPY and selling it. So yeah, the TradFi portfolio could support 10. It could have this last year anyway, supported at 10,000 a month with withdrawal. Okay, but then I did here Trad plus ULTY, where I did the same thing, but I put in 5% of ULTY. And I also added in I did the ULTY TO combination, the 5-15, but I added it in with the rest of the TradFi. So the VU, the 60-40, but it's not 60-40, it's 60-20-20. So it's 60 Vanguard, 20, TradFi stuff. So BND, HYG, REIT, whatever, those type stuff. And then the other 20 is the high yield sleeve, which is the high, so in this, and I also switched to YMAX just to see YMAX or ULTY, similar, whatever. I switched to YMAX, so it's be 5% YMAX and then 15% TO to mellow out the YMAX, just for my high income sleeve. Anyway, let's see how that did. And that didn't do quite as well as the TradFi portfolio. It's down a little bit, lost a little ground to the benchmark. But anyway, but of course it's paying $10,000 a month as well. It's kind of your fault the portfolio didn't do that well. You'd need to withdraw a little bit less. But anyway, then I just like the simplicity of these portfolios here that is just like ULTY plus TO, or it doesn't have to be ULTY. It could be blocks plus TO or YMAX plus TO. Just kind of for the sake of argument, just trying to look at these and see really what ULTY or YMAX is contributing to the situation. WPay plus TO was going to be a good one in the future, I would suspect. Anyway, okay. So on this one actually can support it. Could support the withdrawing 10,000 a month. Now, so what this one has is 80% VU. So it's an 80-20. It's 80% VU and then 20% your income sleeve. And on the income sleeve, I made it 13% TO and 7% YMAX. YMAX isn't quite as bullish as ULTY. On ULTY, I was doing a 15.5, but on YMAX, it requires a little bit more oomph to get there. But so look at this. So, a portfolio like like that. It's just I just really like the idea of using the ULTY and WiMAX together, or ULTY and, or not ULTY, TOC and WiMAX, or TOC and ULTY, or TOC, or, it could be SGov, it could be Cash I, but using some type of bond, something at the same time with these high risk ones, because you can use something like this to get your risk right where you want it. So look down here at portfolio income. So the TradFi portfolio paid 15 plus 21. I paid like 36. Not very much money, did it? None of these really paid that much. The one that I kind of like, portfolio B, paid, or C, paid 17 plus 31, 41, 51. So that's about the 5% rule. But it doesn't matter. They can pay if you can set it on here to pay whatever you want. But I just wanted to show, so this ULTY TOC, or in this case, it was WiMAX TOC, but it made enough income to support, the withdrawals and still make money. So, but portfolio, this one might be the more interesting one. So the last tab. Okay, so on this tab, I did the same thing. That's why I do the tabs, so I don't have to do the same. I just copy. So I have TradFi again. Okay, and that's this, the kind of safe and sound bond, HYG, REIT, and there's probably better allocations in there and stuff, but this is just somewhat representative of spreading your money everywhere and just doing some smart stuff, getting some cornerstone. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with that portfolio. And it's paying you $10,000 a month in retirement, and your NAV is steady. Now granted, because the market's up, but anyway, but it was a good year, right? All right. Trad plus ULTY, not quite as well. Anyway, that's fine. But anyway, so then I was checking, okay, how some people say, I'll do the 60-40, 60% ULTY and 40% VU. You see people saying that in Reddit and stuff, or something like that. And so I thought, well, let's simulate that just for fun. Let's simulate, in other words, somebody that's just basically all in, or in heavier than really probably it might otherwise be smart. So, well, here's the 60-40 ULTY VU. And so, yes, this portfolio could actually, this was trying to be an example of what not to do, but ULTY's had a heck of a year. ULTY's outperformed the SPY over the time frame of this test. And so this was additive to the return. So I was trying to show what not to do. And actually this past year, you could have paid yourself $10,000 a month and still been up doing it, but whatever. But still, it's still what not to do. And I'm going to show you why. For one thing, it adds a lot of risk. It makes your standard deviation higher, obviously. But what but I'm trying to show on a more philosophical thing, right? It's not what not to do, but you don't really need to. Okay, because the idea with ULTY is the income, and paying yourself $10,000 a month on a million is just insane, ridiculous, and we were simulating that, and ULTY was able to do that in the last simulation. Okay. But let's say if somebody did a bigger allocation of ULTY, how much income would they make? So they have 198 last year and then 345 this year. So 550,000. So they, 55% of $1 million. So could they pay themselves that? So let's go look at that. So, because that's like more than $500,000. So let's just go in here and see what would happen if instead of withdrawing, that last one was drawing 11,000 a month, not 10,000. I forgot I put it up to 11. That's a good retirement to be able to withdraw that much. Anyway, but let's check 50,000 a month. What do you think would happen? And you guys know where this is going. It's going to crash all the portfolios. It's going to crash the TradFi. It's going to lose, because you're paying yourself all the money. You're cannibalizing your portfolio. It's going to crash that other one. And it's going to crash this one a little bit less just because ULTY outperformed it. But whatever, it's not. So my point was, yes, you can have that income. There's the income right there, but it's not distributable. You can't distribute more than you really have without crashing the portfolio. So, but that's so the good news is, though, let's go back here and let's go for 12. Or let's go for 12.5. It just sounds like an even. Let's go for 12.5 and see if a guy could have done that. TradFi'd be down 2% or 4%. But yeah, a guy and I was using this as an example of what not to do, but you could do that. And let's go look at the income. But the point I'm trying to get at is the income. The income was still 500,000. You can't get the 500,000 because that yield's not the same as total return, right? I mean, total return equals distribution yield plus distribution yield, or just distribution plus NAV return. So, I mean, in a year, if you had a year where the market was up 50%, or where ULTY was up 50%, had total return of 50%, and it made an income of 50%, that year, yes, you could withdraw the money. But the distributable part of this income is way less. So once you figure that out and realize you're taking more risk, then why not just because you can't spend the money anyway. So then why not? You can spend about 12.5. I mean, that's a lot of money, or you could this past year. So why not do this? Why not do, even if you want a YOLO ULTY or something, and I'm not recommending this, but cut it way back, because you can't spend all that. It's adding risk, and it's for no reason. It's giving you distributions that you can't spend. So, even if you were, loved ULTY or something, 90-10 VU ULTY or something, right here, you could support a $12,500 withdrawal. And look, now your income's still high. Your income's 38 plus 61. Your income right there, that's a distributable level of income, because that's $90,000. And you're paying yourself a little bit more than that. You could probably get away with even like 85-15 maybe, and it'd be distributable income. But in other words, there's no reason to be all in on these things, because you can't give it to yourself anyway, and you're adding unnecessary risk, adding risk that you don't need. So let's go look at this income. So this is I'm certainly not recommending this, but this portfolio right here, 85% VU, even for the person that was the biggest ULTY maximalist in the world, and we'll try YMAX. I'll put YMAX in here next. But you would make 53 plus 88. There you'd have it. That would give you your, $12,500 a month income. And it looks like the portfolio over this last year anyway could support it just barely. And you brought your standard deviation back down to 14, which is in line. The benchmark is 12.7. So TradFi is definitely safer, but you can see it's safer. And also, some of those have a little bit less return. All right, so let's do this now. And you can do this too. Like, that's why I'm sharing with you guys. I just wanted to give you guys ideas. You can do this all day long. So go in and let's take ULTY down to 0, and let's go in here. Let's put a little YMAX down here, or it could be YMAG. We'll put YMAG underneath it, and we'll test it. We'll test it next. No. You have to hit the right thing. Well, we could do 5 of each, but anyway, 15. We'll do 15 just to be consistent with the last test we had. Let's see if that could support a $12,500 withdrawal. Yeah, same thing. Not at all recommending this, but you in theory you could. Now let's look at the portfolio income of YMAG. So YMAG made a little less income though. It made 22 plus 33, so it made 55. But you could still pay yourself. If the portfolio is still able to pay it out, I guess you could keep upping your allocation of YMAG. But I think it's kind of irrelevant. It depends on your own. It depends on your estate planning and your tax needs, and it's not irrelevant, but it's academic. You can do it either way. You can sell shares, or you can try to sell options and generate more income. Let's test YMAX. Let's put YMAX to the same test there. So we'll go 0 there. And then we'll go 15 there. I'll tell you a good one would be 5 YMAX, 5 YMAG, and 5 ALTY. Maybe we'll test that one next. But it could do it. I run these tests all day long. It would be positive. Those three could be positive. Okay, so YMAX, yeah. YMAX does it. So 15% YMAX, 85% VU. Standard deviation is a little bit higher than the market. Drawdown. The market's drawdown was, the market drew down 13, and I'm calling it YOLO, but it's not YOLO anymore since we switched it off of YOLO. It was YOLO. It was what not to do. But anyway, same drawdown as the market. It's the same risk as the market, but unlike the market has $12,000, generates $12,000 income on $1 million. This portfolio here generates 31 plus 61, so 92,000. Not a bad looking portfolio, is it? All right, guys. So like I say, this is all theoretical stuff. I hope you guys like it, or I hope it gives you some ideas for back testing your own portfolios. Once again, I'm not, you guys that are, no one's going to do this. No one's going to get just ALTY and one other thing. ALTY plus cash, in other words, ALTY and TO. Or maybe someone will. It looks like it makes a lot of sense. Go test it yourself. Talk to your planner, talk to your partner, all that kind of good stuff. My point was, though, a lot of people do have ALTY and they have safer ETFs. So they're trying to do the same thing. That's all I'm doing with ALTY and TO is trying to balance out, trying to cut down ALTY's risk a little bit, but trying to have enough ALTY where I can still have a really great retirement and have a huge withdrawal. Because the ALTY can contribute. You can't go all in on ALTY. You can, but it's a waste. But we saw what happens on that. But the ALTY used judiciously can definitely contribute to a good retirement. And you could see that the ALTY retirement was beating the TradFi retirement by a little bit. Of course, no one should take 12,000 out. The one other thing I'm going to leave you with is just do something smart like this. Let's go back to settings. No one needs 12,500 a month, or God forbid, but let's take half of that. 6,000 a month. That's like 72,000 a year or something. That's a nice retirement. And TradFi could do that. This past year it could. Either TradFi scheme could. And of course the more elaborate scheme could. My point was this really oversimplified income portfolio where it just has ALTY and TO. I'm just trying to make a fast comparison. You don't have to do ALTY and TO. You can do ALTY and other safe assets, and you're doing the same thing. I'm just trying to think of a way to test it without adding too many variables in. That's all I was trying to say. Because we could all day long, we could mix ALTY with SCHD and then with, I think a lot of you guys do that, or we could mix ALTY with, triple QI or something like that. But then it just introduces too many other variables. So anyway, I hope you guys like this. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.